You just don't do that with families. You know, your family's the most important thing in your life. He decided to leave the royal family and go his own way in the United States. And don't forget, he travels with a small retinue of bodyguards as well.
He didn't want to stay in a royal residence that was offered to him by the king because he didn't feel he had enough protection there. Now all of a sudden he's saying, well, I didn't want to stay there because I didn't feel safe. I mean, it just doesn't add up.
Veteran royal photographer Arthur Edwards, who spent over 50 years capturing the royal family up close, just dropped a bombshell about what really happened at Meghan and Harry's royal wedding. And trust me, it wasn't the fairy tale you saw on TV. From guests fainting in the heat to snubbed British reporters pushed to the back, to celebrity strangers like Oprah and the Clooneys getting front row seats over people who actually knew the couple, Arthur was there.
The king felt very upset with that last thing Harry did, the book.
And what he saw left him wanting to escape Windsor faster than a hot cup of tea in a storm. He's covered every major royal event: Charles and Diana's wedding, William and Kate's stunning ceremony, even Edward and Sophie's big day. But this one, Arthur said it felt cold, stage-managed, and to quote him directly, "I couldn't get out of there quick enough." So what really happened behind the scenes of Meghan and Harry's big day? Why did it leave such a bitter taste in the mouth of someone who's dedicated his life to celebrating the royal family? And was this the moment the couple truly turned their backs on royal tradition? Let's start from the very top. Arthur Edwards wasn't just any guest. He's been part of the royal reporting crew since the days before most of us were even born. He's someone trusted by the monarchy, someone who's had a front row seat to history for decades. But even he said this wedding fell off. The first red flag? The guest list. Royal correspondents who had spent years covering Meghan and Harry with professionalism and fairness were cast aside like yesterday's tabloids. Many weren't invited at all, and the ones who were, they were stuffed in the far back. So far out that they may as well have watched the ceremony through binoculars. And then there were the surprise VIPs. Oprah Winfrey, who had met Meghan and Harry only once before the wedding, was sitting pretty front and center. Clooneys, who reportedly didn't even know the couple well, looked like they were lifelong pals. It wasn't just a wedding, it was a Hollywood event with royal decorations. To Arthur, and to many who had served the crown and documented its history with reverence, it felt like a calculated snub, a rejection of the British press, a quiet signal that Meghan and Harry were not just modernizing the monarchy, they were rewriting the script entirely. But then came the second shock, the weather. It wasn't just emotionally uncomfortable, it was physically brutal. In one of England's rarest heat waves, temperatures soared past 30 degrees Celsius. No breeze, no shade, just hundreds of overdressed guests baking in black tie and fancy hats. People were melting, literally. Arthur said guests were fanning themselves with programs just to avoid passing out. One person even fainted. Another joked that it felt like the Hunger Games, but for hydration. And while royal weddings are typically known for class, elegance, and regality, this one started to look like an uncomfortable mashup of Hollywood glitz and bad British weather. Arthur wasn't just warm, he was done. Done with the heat, the distance, the snub, and the spectacle. He says he couldn't wait to get out of Windsor. And for a man who's covered half a century of royal events, that speaks volumes. Now let's talk about the reception. Because if the ceremony was a furnace, the reception was a freezer. Emotionally, that is. You'd think a royal wedding party would be grand. Dancing, laughter, music, a real sense of celebration. But according to multiple insiders, the reception felt more like a networking event than a wedding. No one danced, and no one relaxed. People whispered like they were in a library. Even Elton John, who performed, looked like his soul had left the building. Guests described the atmosphere as formal, stiff, and oddly distant. One even said it was like a museum with champagne. And the food? Forget royal feasts. One guest got a single canopy that vanished in their mouth faster than a royal scandal on page 6. The highlight of the night for some was when their Uber driver handed them a granola bar on the way home. Let that sink in. A granola bar did more for morale than an entire royal reception. Now, all of this might seem like petty complaints, weather, food, seating, but in royal terms, optics are everything. And what Arthur Edwards saw that day was the unraveling of a bond. The very foundation of royal tradition, respect for history, inclusion of press, dignity with a personal touch, was missing. It wasn't a wedding designed for Britain. It was a production for Hollywood. But the deeper issue? trust. And that's where the rest of the royal family started to really take notice. Fast forward past the wedding and we enter the era of Spare, Harry's memoir, the Oprah interview, the Netflix documentary. Every private word, every tearful exchange, every behind-the-scenes glance, aired out for global consumption. And that's what the royals feared the most. That Harry, once the fun-loving loyal prince, had become a walking leak, a man with a pen in one hand and a camera in the other. The moment he turned down the king's offer to stay in a royal residence during the Invictus Games trip, that wasn't just a snub, it was a signal. He said it was for security concerns. But as Arthur and others pointed out, royal palaces are literal fortresses, protected by armed guards, closed entrances, secure perimeters. It wasn't about safety, it was about control. Instead, Harry stayed in a luxury hotel, Coworth Park, 5-star, ultra-private, and the same place he stayed before marrying Meghan. Convenient, personal, and completely detached from the crown. So why the palace avoidance? Sources believe he didn't want to risk more awkward encounters, especially not with the king, who is still deeply hurt over Harry's portrayal of Queen Camilla in his memoir. Queen is beloved by the king, she's been his rock. And Harry's cold words cut deep. Even William, once inseparable from Harry, is said to be livid. That Oprah interview, where racism allegations were implied, caused irreversible damage. Even though Harry and Meghan later walked back those statements, the harm had already been done. William isn't hiding his anger. He's shared it within private circles. He's done pretending. Arthur Edwards echoed the sentiment. After decades of photographing Harry, watching him grow from a mischievous boy to a charismatic prince, he now says he doesn't care if he ever sees him again. That's how far the fall has been. But amidst the royal chaos, one figure has been quietly working behind the scenes. Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Though she's been out of public view due to health concerns, insiders say she's still reviewing proposals, giving input, and staying involved in her childhood development projects. One recent initiative could return £45 billion to government coffers. She's not showing up for cameras, but make no mistake, she's still showing up. This quiet strength has only elevated her in the eyes of the public. Her grace, her work ethic, her devotion to the family, it's everything the monarchy needs right now. And while she rests, other younger royals are stepping forward. Beatrice, Eugenie, Zara, and Peter Phillips, once considered background players, have been filling in during events like garden parties in Royal Ascot. They may not wear the frontline titles, but they're showing up when it counts. Even Arthur Edwards gave them credit. He's known them since they were kids and says their presence lately has been a quiet but powerful show of unity. It's a reminder that the royal family still has depth, even if the headlines only focus on Harry and Meghan. But here's what might be the saddest twist in all this. Archie and Lilibet, Harry and Meghan's children, don't know their cousins. They don't know their grandparents. They don't play in the palace gardens or take summer trips with their royal relatives. And it's not because of royal protocol, it's because of silence, distance, pride. That's the heartbreak Arthur pointed to. Not the feud between brothers. Not the awkward garden party vibes. Not even the showbiz guest list. It's the children, growing up without their extended family, without the traditions, without the bonds that make royalty human. And all of it perhaps started at that wedding. The day Arthur Edwards, loyal servant to the royal lens, saw a shift. Cold shoulder to the past, a cold stare at the present, and a cold future unless something changes. In his own words, he's covered the best royal weddings in history. Diana, William's, Charles's second with Camilla, and he loved everyone. But Meghan and Harry's, he said it with no hesitation. I couldn't wait to get out of Windsor, and that says it all. So what do you think? Was Meghan and Harry's wedding the fairy tale it was sold to be, or the beginning of a royal unraveling? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more royal stories you won't hear on palace press releases. Until next time, stay curious and stay watching. But let's not stop there, because what Arthur Edwards witnessed that day wasn't just personal discomfort. It was the early warning signal of something much bigger, something shaking the foundation of the monarchy itself. The total breakdown of mutual trust between the royal family and the people meant to preserve their image. For decades, Arthur Edwards and the British press played a crucial role in keeping the magic of royalty alive. They weren't just reporters, they were the bridge between the palace and the public. Their cameras made the monarchy feel relatable, human, real. It was the press that showed Diana hugging children in hospitals, press that captured Prince Harry in his cheeky teenage years, press that transformed Kate Middleton into a beloved household figure. But Meghan and Harry's wedding? It marked a deliberate severing of that bridge. And here's what's wild. Arthur, as a senior press veteran, was used to dealing with change. He watched the Queen adjust to modern television cameras. He saw Charles evolve from a stiff heir to a hands-on dad. He even witnessed Prince Andrew fall from grace. But what shocked him most was not Meghan's celebrity glow or Harry's rebellious streak. It was the deliberate wall they built around themselves. From day one, this wasn't modernization. This was a quiet middle finger to the British establishment. And for the people who had spent decades telling the royal story to the nation, it stung. And let's be honest, Arthur wasn't alone in this sentiment. Multiple insiders at the wedding reported a strange, lingering tension. Royal staff were on edge. Protocols felt different. Certain formalities, like the usual press briefings, behind-the-scenes access, and photographer zones, were mysteriously absent. One palace aide reportedly muttered, "This isn't a wedding, it's a Netflix trailer with royal branding." And remember, this was still the beginning of Harry and Meghan's journey. The Oprah interview was still years away. Spare hadn't been written yet. The Netflix documentary was just a gleam in a producer's eye. But the attitude was already there. The seeds of exit had already been planted. The wedding was not a celebration of entry into royal life. It was a goodbye party, disguised with veils and vows. Now, contrast that with Kate and William's wedding. Arthur has often said that day was filled with warmth, grace, and genuine connection.